Right then, everybody, Red Review episode 5. We'll be talking Erik ten Hag's future, Bruno Fernandes. I want to talk about him and my frustration with him. New managers potentially incoming. I might do a season review as well. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So, it came out yesterday. Manchester United decision makers are scheduled to meet in London within 48 hours after the match against Aston Villa. On Sunday, a scrutiny over Erik ten Hag continues to grow. The people who are meeting in London on Tuesday include Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Sir Dave Brailsford, Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox and Joel Glazer, who is flying in from the USA. So it's going to be a real big meeting, really talking about the future of Ten Hag. Obviously, Ten Hag's talked about how he's aligned with the structure at the football club, and how he is kind of happy with how it's going. Obviously, ultimately, is not, because we've been horrible this season. And listen, they may be aligned. Erik ten Hag talked about how he talks with Sir Jim Ratcliffe every day about how it's going, or not Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada, about how it's going at United and how they can improve. Listen, certainly that could happen. But the way that Erik ten Hag has been playing for Manchester United this season, it's shocking. But listen, ultimately, I think it's going to be a tough season for United. Ten Hag's job's in scrutiny regardless of the Aston Villa game. That's also been reported from Chris Wheeler. Like, he's facing a lot of pressure. And tomorrow, what happens against Aston Villa can massively determine the future of Erik ten Hag, whether he stays at the club, whether he's in a job, or whether he's out of a job. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Personally, what do I think should happen? Listen, I'm very frustrated. The way that we've played, we've capitulated in a lot of our games. We've conceded 3 goals over 3 times this season, in like 8 games. We're shipping too many goals. We may not concede many shots, but we certainly are conceding a lot of goals, and that would be a huge worry for me if I am Ten Hag. The fact that the amount of goals we're conceding has gone up through the roof. The mentality after we do concede is shocking. I mean, we had a 2-0 lead over in Porto, and we somehow managed to lose that. Like, Erik ten Hag must really look at himself in the mirror here, kind of really analyse what's gone wrong at the football club. And as I said, managers' replacements have already been talked about. There's nothing concrete with Inzaghi. That's what's being reported. That was obviously something that was talked about from Manchester United and Erik ten Hag about potential replacements. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel, Southgate, Nagelsmann. There will be a lot of manager talks, and obviously Ineos, as part of Erik ten Hag being sacked, they will have in mind the candidates that they are going to want to bring in. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy has been talked about, set to be an interim. Obviously, Ruben Amorim from Sporting, he's been talked about. So there are a lot of managers on the roster. Obviously, it would take a big payout for Ten Hag to leave. I think it would be 17.5 million in compensation for Ten Hag. So United have to look at every aspect of Ten Hag leaving. What do I think? Listen, I think he's given some great moments at United, 2 trophies in 2 years. But you look at after year 3, there's no real identity. And with the way that we're playing football, we're not getting consistent results. Like, if you look at Arsenal, yes, we banter them because they haven't won any trophies. But if you look at the way that they play consistent, you know exactly what you're going to get from them. With United, it seems to change game by game. And yes, we have injuries, but every team has injuries. It's the personnel that is the issue for me. I don't think Ten Hag is setting us up in a correct way to kind of really play that ambitious football. As I said, there's huge gaps. For example, against Porto, there's huge gaps in our left-back position. There's huge gaps in midfield at times during games. Like, we just haven't got everything right since Erik ten Hag has come in, and that would be the sort of biggest worry right now, in my personal opinion. Obviously, we've got the 2-week international break after Villa, so I'll probably dissect and talk about Erik ten Hag more. But ultimately, for me, he just hasn't done enough simply this season. It's been poor. And listen, he talks about the trophies. Yes, he wins trophies, but trophies, it's basically just trophies are literally the only reason that's keeping Ten Hag in the job at the minute. I think if we lose to Man City in the FA Cup final, he's gone. Remember, leading up to it, there was a lot of scrutiny on him leaving. And there was a lot of reports suggesting that he would leave. Like, that was the only thing keeping him in the job. And listen, we deserved to beat Man City, but still, it was that thin margin that really could have ended his career at Manchester United. Now, you look at this 2024 season, we went into it signing big players, spending over 150 million. We bought in Euro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, defensive experts and defensive additions. In midfield, we bought Ugarte for £60 million. Yes, we signed him late, but still a £60 million signing who yet I'm not really convinced on. You look at the attack, Xerxes, like we've got Chidioba Martin, we've got Sekou Kone. Like we did bring players through the door this window, and you look like they haven't really had an impact to the team. Yes, De Ligt slotted in, Xerxes played a few games, but we just don't look confident. You look at the players who we have at the club, Bruno Fernandes, who I'll talk about, but Rashford, all these players, Casemiro's, the Mainus, the Dallots, all these players, they have not been up to standard this season. And you've got to be honest, you've got to scrutinise the players, because they ultimately are the one getting paid millions of pounds to wear the shirt, which a lot of people would love to do, and they just haven't been putting in that shift, and that is a big disappointment. As I said, some of the signings Ten Hag made, I'm not really sure on Onana yet. Mason Mount, you look at him constantly being injured. Højlund still young. Who did we sign before that as well? Casemiro was one of his signings. Anthony, Malacia, like a lot of these signings haven't worked out, and that comes down to Ten Hag as well. If you were to change the manager, you would have to replace the whole squad. I mean, Ten Hag's literally signed the whole team. You look at, he signed Onana, Mazraoui, Malacia, De Ligt, Martinez. He signed Casemiro, Ugarte, like Eriksen he signed as well. Mainly he's bought through the team. Collier as well. Look at the attack, Garnacho he's bought through, but he's also spent money on Anthony, Xerxes, Højlund. Like he's literally bought a whole new team, and that would be something difficult that a manager would want to. But listen, some United fans wanting the team to lose though is shocking. That is disgraceful, but I think it is very disappointing to see the way that it's gone though for Erik Ten Hag. I think people are talking about like the players who haven't helped him. Listen, the players are fighting for Ten Hag. You can see it. You look at some of the players that we've put on the pitch and started in the last few games. They have put a very, very good shift in for him, and ultimately they have tried their best. But ultimately, some of the players, if we have to be honest, are not good enough for Manchester United, the football club, and that comes down to kind of scouting under the old regime now. Listen, as I said, that Sir Radcliffe did an interview with BBC, or they stopped him for an interview, and he said he likes Erik Ten Hag, he's a good guy, and it's not for him to talk about. He's going to leave it to the people in charge, which is ultimately correct. They should have the decision, because they are the ones seeing it day in, day out, and seeing what's really going on at the football club. But he said he's going to leave it to the likes of Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, Brailsford, all these people to kind of make that decision. Obviously the Glazers, they've done nothing for this football club other than just take money out. Yes, they've spent money, but not on the right players. It is disappointing, but should Ten Hag be sacked? I mean, his sack will probably be imminent after that game against Villa. If he loses, there'll be an increased amount of uphold. The media will be onto him. So listen, it's a big game tomorrow against Aston Villa. It could be, as I said, his make or break for Ten Hag. And that ultimately is very, very disappointing. I think he's been a great servant to the club, professional manager, and if he gets sacked, listen, I can't obviously complain because the performances have not been great enough, but I would love to see Ten Hag given a bit more time. I think he has built some very, very good foundations. Yes, we haven't been playing that sort of football that we want, but ultimately, let's see what happens now. I'm going to move on talking about my frustration with Bruno Fernandes. Listen, Bruno is one of the most informed when he's on it, one of the best midfielders in the league. For me, when he's on it, in the first couple of seasons we signed him, he was fantastic. Now you look at his last few games, Palace was very, very frustrating. Twente, horrible. Spurs, even worse, got a red card. Then Porto midweek got a red card. I think we did see signs of improvement from Bruno though, keeping the ball in tight areas, not trying that ridiculous Hollywood pass, that typical Bruno pass. But still, there has been large amounts of errors from Bruno. And for me, listen, I know lots of people want him out. He's just signed another 2 or 3 year contract on 300 grand a week. That's a disgrace. I think the captaincy, I think right now, listen, it's not going to happen, but maybe take it off him for a few games to give it to someone else. But who would you give it to? I can't remember who it was saying that maybe there's too much pressure. I think it was Peter Schmeichel saying there may be too much pressure for Bruno Fernandes to have the captain's armband right now. And that could be correct. We've seen it with Maguire. Maguire, as soon as that armband got taken off him, there was a lot of pressure. He started to improve his performances. Maybe we'll see that with Bruno Fernandes. But that's not obviously going to happen. It'd be embarrassing if Ten Hag, the player that he appointed as captain, was to drop him. Drop the captaincy from him and bring someone else in. Obviously, I think he will be suspended for our next few games in the Europa League, so you'll be able to see a change in that. But ultimately, the main frustration is with Bruno. We know what he can do, and he's not showing it enough, and that is the worrying sign. I think we know he's a quality player and does have that ability, that fantastic ability to kind of go on and be a very, very good player. But as I said, he hasn't shown it enough this season. He's got more red cards and goals than assists. That's something that clubs have been bantering him about. Like, it is a huge worry, the way that we're playing, and Bruno is obviously central to that, being the captain of the football club, being one of the key players at stake. He isn't really helping us. So yeah, for me, that's my frustration with Bruno. I just want to put a bit quick, it's not going to be a clip or anything, it's just going to be part of the video if you stay tuned to watch it. But now the last thing I want to discuss, I'm just going to do a season review. I want to talk about the season. Listen, United have had a shocking start to the season. I think we got, a 0 goal difference in the Premier League. Like, we've struggled massively. If you look at the games that we've played, we've put in a few good performances. Let's not make that wrong. We have. I think the opening day against Fulham was okay. I think definitely our best game of the season though was Palace, where we ended up drawing. Obviously Barnsley beating them 7-0, Southampton. But you look at the shocking game, we had Liverpool, capitulation, 3-0, Casemiro mistakes. Brighton, we lose the game in the last minute due to just a lack of focus. Tottenham, capitulation again, 3-0, Bruno Fernandes, red card. Like, it's just like the little individual errors, and that's something that we need to get rid of as well. I think the individual errors are way too high at Manchester United. We've seen them at United for years, just little sloppy mistakes that massively cost and affect the team. Like, I can understand that what we're trying to play is like the 3-1-6. I can kind of see that, the high press, but in order to do that, we really have to be synergised and together with it, and that's something that togetherness I don't think we've seen enough at United this season. That cohesion, that ability to go on and do some big things, which I'm hoping United can do. But listen, let me know your thoughts on that. That was a quick season review. I mean, it's been poor. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, winning 3, losing 3. No, wait. So we played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've drawn 3, lost 3, and won 3. So not the greatest start to the season by any means for Manchester United. There's a long way for us to go. I'm hoping though we've got a few big games. Listen, Eric Ten Hag may not be here after the international break, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we are kind of in limbo, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this has been the Bread Review, episode number 5. Not too much to talk about. I wanted to kind of give you my final opinion on Ten Hag, which I gave there. It's a big week for United. Obviously, international break after this. That there'll be more content given to you, more topic-based, more debate related, coming for you guys very, very soon throughout the transfer window. But obviously, tomorrow is the game against Villa. We keep you up to date with the 5 things to expect as well. Talking a bit more about that game in the future. But thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Subscribe. Another episode of Bread Review complete. Peace.